My name is Craig Noble. I am the author of Rethinking Drinking. I've always wanted to write a book. I'm sort of a walker meditator, and I was walking one day and just having my conversation with the universe, and it just occurred to me that the story that is at the beginning of the book about my son and my conversation about our neighbor turned into this entire book idea. So I wish that I would have been more aware of what I'm going through now with regard to getting this word out, because I think that there are ways to enjoy yourself without alcohol. And I think that the alcohol companies, again, have done such a great job of inserting themselves in everybody's social life and everybody's, home life. And it's just kind of sad. Drinking responsibly becomes, to me, it's kind of an oxymoron. Drinking responsibly. After you get started with it, it's in your head. How can you be responsible if you're drinking? If they're going to go so far as to say drink responsibly, I don't know that anyone really knows what that means. So to go a little bit further and say that, it's a mind-altering, habit-forming, physically affecting substance, I think that maybe would start a conversation among people as opposed to just drink responsibly. I don't think it's enough. And in terms of it being a brilliant tagline, they're telling us to drink responsibly. So it's kind of a sales pitch while it's also instructions and it's also kind of a warning. But I think primarily it is the most brilliant sales pitch. Drink responsibly. I think that as soon as we're born, everyone is toasting our birth and innocently celebrating us being on the planet, with alcohol. And from the time that we're born, we're kind of just socialized to believe that it's safe and civilized and a part of being an adult. And I think that just to look at it a little bit differently and say, do we need to have alcohol everywhere we go? No. And then if you do need to have a drink when you're, at the museum with your family and beer is served, it's not wrong that the beer is served at a museum, but if you have to have a beer in order for you to spend time with your family at the museum, it's not wrong that it's there, but you might think twice about actually choosing a beer while you're spending time with your family. And I think that has to do with the influence that everyone's under. My first drink was, I was probably 7, 8 years old, and just my dad's drinking beer, and I had a sip of his beer. I mean, I can remember he and his friends and his brother used to spend time sitting outside. They super enjoyed sitting outside in the air and no music, just being outside, and the chairs around, enjoying the day and enjoying beer and enjoying, stories, and everyone's laughing and having a good time. And the beer the alcohol fit perfectly with a gorgeous day, everyone laughing, everyone socializing, family, friends, beer. It was perfect. It made perfect sense. And now I look back on that and I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I wish I would have known it doesn't need to be there. It just doesn't need to be there. So now that I've been stepping on more stages and meeting more people and fielding more questions and providing answers, this is not that complicated of an issue. The reason that, and I spent a lot of time in AA, the reason that it's considered baffling is because people really only pay attention to the safe and civilized sales pitch of alcohol, which is basically drink responsibly, and that it's a choice to have a problem with it. And I really don't think it is, because after a while, because alcohol is an addictive substance, it kind of grabs a hold of you, similar to the Matrix movie, The Matrix Has You. And it's not your fault that you have developed questions, or even if you're drinking more often than you normally would, wondering what's going on with you, you got to get back to the fundamental principles of alcohol. It's an addictive substance. It affects your mind. It affects your habits. It affects your physiology. It's not your fault. The conscious friend, the friend who sees another friend who is not drinking responsibly or seems to be slipping along with it more so than others, what that responsible friend says to the sort of not responsible friend has to do with you're using alcohol to feel something or not feel something. And that's not what alcohol is for. What we've been taught about it is that it's for having fun and relaxing. You're starting to use it because you don't need 9 beers. 1 or 2, you got a little buzz going. That's kind of what alcohol is for. Get a little buzz going. 9, you're drinking too much. Yeah, so one of the reasons why I wrote this book in addition to this conversation with my son, it really means a lot to me. The more I got into writing it and now promoting and being on more stages with it, I see an applicability to freshmen, kids that are 18, 19 years old, 17, 18, 19 years old, going off to college and arriving in a university college situation and being introduced to alcohol and not really knowing how slippery and dangerous it is. When I was watching 60 Minutes last night, it was two kids that had consumed a half a gallon of rum within a few hours, and one of them died. And rum is a sweet alcohol, so you can't really tell that you're basically shutting your body down. And he died at 4:30 in the morning because it was too much alcohol for his body to withstand. And it's just beyond sad. And this happens every single year when kids go off to school. It has to do with kids having a good relationship or a good conversation with their parents before they leave home about what alcohol is and what it does. And then when they're drinking too much at a fraternity party or a dorm room party or wherever it is, know when to say when. When I was writing the book, that's when I realized that alcohol has everyone under the influence, whether they're drinking a lot, a little, or none at all. So whether they're 3 years old, 15 years old, or 45 years old, everybody is under the influence of alcohol because of the alcohol messaging. If this message could prevent kids from dying that just left their loving families to go off to college and start their adult life and end up, drinking too much and on the floor of a fraternity house or a dorm room or wherever it is, that's another reason why this is a passion project for me. I think that not only is addiction avoidable, but I think that kids getting sick is avoidable, and I think certainly that kids dying, is avoidable. And I think that the message that I'd like to get out there is that it really just has to do with awareness. The book is one piece. I'd like this to become a speaking opportunity for universities. I'd like it to become a speaking opportunity for companies in terms of employee orientation. I think that people really underestimate and downplay the influence of alcohol. It affected me in a negative way. I consider myself a pretty smart person. It has nothing to do with being smart. It'll grab you. So I would just like people to be aware of what it is and what it's not and how slippery it can be. And I think addiction is avoidable. I think dependence is avoidable. I think a habitual relationship with it is avoidable. And there are some things that people should and can be aware of to avoid all of that. And I think that with all of the messaging with regard to alcohol that's out there, it just the truth really gets lost. The reason I wrote the book was primarily for my son and his friends. I thought of it primarily as a parenting book, but the more I got into writing it and polishing it and creating the finished product, I think it actually is for 4 groups. I think it's parents who want to be proactive with their kids before they start drinking. So that would be preteens and teens. I think it's people who are probably trying to grow themselves up and they have a struggle with alcohol. And then I think it's for people that are struggling with not drinking. And I think the 4th group are loved ones. And I think that I've got something to say, being on both sides, someone who actually had a problem with it, didn't have a problem with it, loved someone who had a problem with it. So I see 4 groups: loved ones, proactive parents, struggling to drink, struggling not to drink. 4 groups. I think that my struggle was given to me as a gift, and I just want to give it back to people. I don't want people to go through what I went through.